Hello, everyone. My name is Edith, also known as Lady E, and welcome to the Lady E Effect podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, we interview purpose-driven professionals that do amazing contributions to people, businesses, and communities worldwide. If that's something that's interesting for you, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and please subscribe to all of our social media platforms at the Lady E Effect and connect with us on our audio platforms that will be in the description box. For those that know me, I love to get right into it. We always have the pleasure of interviewing the best of the best. And of course, today is nothing different from that. So without any more time, thank you so much for joining us. Please introduce yourself and let us know who you are.
Sure. So I'm Paige Johnson. I am the founder and owner of Pray Hustle Profit, Social Acres, and Kody Homes.
Wow. Well, thank you again for joining us today. We've had the pleasure of connecting with you before, and you are just such a blessing. I love how you just operate in so many different fashions and just how intentional and dedicated you are. So, definitely, before we get into all of the amazing things that you do, I would love to start off with that personal development side when it pertains to family, you being a wife and a mother, that is super important to talk about, especially in our community. So, I would love to touch bases on that first. Definitely give you the floor to share with the audience what is important operating in those roles as a wife, as a mother, and specifically when it comes to you blessed to have children and specifically sons. I think that's something that's important to talk about as well. Shout out to all the mothers out there that are just amazing. Those that, whether they raise sons or daughters, both are, of course, a blessing. And I would love for you to explore on that and definitely being like a boy's mom, right? So, and a mother, alongside being a wife too, right? Both of those elements are very important to talk about. So, if you'd like to share with the audience about that.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely can say that being a mom and being a wife is like running a business. They're my shareholders, you know what I mean? And so my personal development really is important to me because I know that like they deserve the best version of me. So I'm always, doing the work on myself to make sure that I'm super self-aware. I'm, grounded in reality and the things that I try to accomplish while trying to raise three young men, especially, in this society, trying to be a wife in this society, right? Where we're headed in a direction where like family, the nuclear family is rare, becoming rare. And so I do cling to the Proverbs 31 ministry very much so. It's the dedication, not just to the Lord, but dedication to the household and the community as well.
Mm, very well said. And thank you for sharing that. And you did touch bases on something that I think in our community, we could say color, we could say ethnicity, but just in general, it is so important to understand the family dynamic from a biblical perspective. A woman's true identity is completely covered in the space of Proverbs 31. It definitely represents the wife, it represents the mother, but it also represents the true form of a woman. And as you touch bases on that, it definitely is very identical to operating as business, although, yes, it's like a male dominating space in terms of how there's leadership and this and that. When women take the time to really study Proverbs 31 and dive into, and kind of dissect what each scripture and line describes the roles and the characteristics of like a true woman, there is absolutely leadership. There is absolutely taking care of the household. And yes, we might hear about, um, wives that may be home and take care of it, but there's men that take care of the homes too. But women have a very exceptional role, right? Helpmeet is what we are identified as well as wives in the space of biblical teaching. So, when it comes to you specifically, like you said, raising three young men, which is so important in today's society moving forward, how would you like to share with the audience the advice and from your experience, the importance of why it's so critical in today's time, although there can be a father present, from a mother's perspective, the necessity of having a healthy relationship raising young men in today's society?
Yeah, I mean, so going back first to a statement that you made, I historically speaking, right,
Mhm.
women have always been the business owners, right? We've always been the entrepreneurs in the household, in the community, right? Far back to the be millions of years when our men were out hunting and gathering and doing the manly stuff, we were, trading our food, trading our tools amongst each other, right? As women that were home, right? In the village, right? With the kids. We were the ones that were making sure the ecosystem and the economy, like that village economy, was working while the men were going doing the man stuff, fighting the battles, fighting, wars, getting the food and all of that. So, I mean, what I see today and like how I think and perceive family and community and business is really just historical. It's really just it's in our DNA to operate like that.
Mhm.
Um, Raising my sons is, I raise them with the same mentality, right? I don't want them to think that, women are just like we're just the nurturers. We stay home, we just, hang out with our kids, raise them, child rear them. I want them to know that there's a level of egalitarianism involved where my husband helps so much in both business and the household. And that the true meaning of 50-50 is us both, both in business, both in the household, both in the community together. And that's what our sons see, and that's how we operate.
I love that. And I love how you touch bases on the 50-50 role. Um, because like you said, the family dynamic, certain things, and we don't even need to get too deep in it for those that know, there's certain areas that are kind of aiming with a agenda to cause like do kind of like a cause and effect to kind of create that obsolete type of space in terms of the original family per se. And like you said, it is so important to touch bases on why specifically it is important to teach sons too, right? Specifically, because men are the leaders, they're the head, but we are leaders as well. That's why there is a help me element to us as women. And teaching your sons, as you just articulated, is so important that in business, in household, and community, there is a equal value and contribution from the husband, the um, father, the male, the wife, the mother, the woman. That is a double contribution that both sides are just as needed as the other. And that is something that is so important, critical, and essential to teach young boys, absolutely young women too, but definitely young boys, whether it was one, two, or with you having a blessing of three of them, to understand that and just live that example versus like we're just telling stories, right?
Right.
My mom even said children learn where they live. And it's true. That's applicable to your household. It's applicable to business and professional affairs. That is absolutely applicable to the community. So children are always paying attention, whether they speak out loud or they're just kind of being a silent sponge on it
Mhm.
when it comes to, okay, my dad does this in business, but my dad also does this in the household. And look at my mommy. My mommy's not just in the household, but my mommy is doing business. She's a leader. She understands this. My mom is teaching me this. My father's teaching me this. So that is such an exceptional necessity,
Mhm.
especially now, because I think sometimes the narrative is pushed on like independence, 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 but we need the village to
Yeah,
help shape us to really catapult into those that we already are, but get that nurturing from both sides because
right.
you're women are really kind of push with the narrative on nurture. Men do know how to nurture too, and that is also embedded in them as well, from a husband to a wife, right? To a wife to a husband, and how that it pertains to their children. That is definitely an equal shared contribution. So I love that you touch bases on that. So, before we shift into our next phase, in regards to marriage itself, what would be instead of saying advice, what are some key factors that you would like to share with the audience that in going deeper into the time that we are as a wife and as someone that has experienced marriage from your perspective, what are the important key values that you would like to share with the audience that, for those that are transitioning to that or whatever phase or area in their lives, what is most important to take out of marriage moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, the most important part of marriage, hands down, is just partnership. It's just partnership. Um, so I am a high school sweetheart, right? So we're high school sweethearts. So I think it's better when I talk about marriage, I like to talk about it within context of how I became married and who I married, right? I married someone I met when I was in high school and someone I dated throughout college and someone that I've been with for almost 20 years, like at this point, right? So from that context, I would say the partnership that we have and that the partner I have in him and can rely on, right? I can use the household as an example, but I could also use business as an example, right? Like if in the household, even just this week, right? I was bogged down in work this week and I could not finish working until like 2 a.m.
Mhm.
But I needed someone to obviously feed the family, right? If I can't cook tonight, he would have to cook, right? So he cooked the tacos on Taco Tuesday, right?
Mhm.
And he put the kids in the bath and he put the kids to bed because mom is working.
Mhm.
And that's not like an everyday thing where I'm not a present mom, but it's more so what needs to be done gets done by whichever parent is available to do it. And what my sons get, they get both active parents. They get two present parents, right? Mom isn't the only one who cooks, puts the kids in bed, takes the kids to school, right? They have two present parents, and those two present parents can do all things.
Mhm.
If I use marriage in context of business, um, let's say I can't reach out to someone today because I'm in meetings all day. I know that my husband can call this customer or email or just, whatever he has to do to help me get it done, he can get that done. And that's one more thing off my to-do list. So in my marriage, there's a long to-do list every day. There's long to-do list. You got 3 kids. All those kids have things that need to be done, right? Doctor's appointments that need to be scheduled, braces, things like that, right? There's a long to-do list every day in our household, and the ability to knock them off, check them off together is a form of partnership that is like critical to being married. It's absolutely critical.
Well said. And I love the fact that you touch bases on partnership. Partnership is such a powerful word, and I think we hear it more. Like we do hear it in marriage. I think kind of more nowadays.
Mhm.
It's been going on for some time, but just hearing that when it comes to business too. But partnership absolutely has to do with marriage first. And, marriage, there's different layers to it. And, you and your husband operate in business together, which is definitely very powerful and definitely connects back to that Proverbs 31. Because for those that read the different areas of scriptures, within the scripture, her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also. So you hear different roles about the woman. You hear about the husband. Her husband is obviously someone that is known in the gates and someone that is, respected amongst men. The,
Absolutely.
the Bible also talks a lot about business.
Yeah.
and proper etiquette and precepts and principles that absolutely, like you said, historically pertains to everything that allows that success, abundance, wealth, riches, and not just in the form of money, but the mindset, the wisdom behind it,
Right.
practicing behind it, and the contribution. So I love the fact that all the areas that you touch bases on, it's like a whole ecosystem within the partnership of the husband and wife, mother and father, and raising sons, especially, that is such an amazing preparation for them and them to get ready for their wives when that time comes.
Yep.
So I love the fact that that is something that you do every day, and you understand that in a time where you're not as present as you want to be, only from the aspect that you're operating in another present space, there's a balance and kind of like an even exchange in terms of, okay, business wise, if I'm doing this, he got me. If I'm doing this, she got me. And it's
Right.
like a nice, healthy, like ping pong table in terms of like keeping the things on the court, and, communication is there, and, things can be done more effectively.
Yep.
So thank you.
100%.
Yeah. Thank you so much for touching bases on that. Like to shift a little bit, but definitely keep it in the space of like business and community. I love how you operate the way you do in business. I think a lot of times in business, we hear about, okay, what industry are you in? What niche are you in? And can you niche down and things like that? And you and I are very similar in the space where it's like, we're not the biggest fans, more or less, of that. Like, the beautiful thing about business and just the blessing behind it is the diversity. You can start
Yeah.
off somewhere and you can expand exponentially where it's still an ecosystem where everything still connects. And that's
Yeah.
where that community really is able to have the ability to really transform, improve, change, and just have more positive effect versus things that don't allow a proper harvest. So if you can share with the audience the areas of where you practice your business and professional
Yeah.
areas, and I think it would definitely be something to inspire the audience for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can honestly say without my professional career as a consultant, right, as a management consultant, um, I wouldn't be able to really balance all of the things that I do. So I have to give credit to my career. Early in my career, right? I'm talking early 20s. I was, I wasn't really trying to climb ladders at that point. In your 20s, you can't do that, but you can network and you can get skills and you can hone in on your talents, right? So I would say that I learned how to first balance projects. Like that's very key.
Mm,
I learned how to balance and manage projects, how to balance and manage my time, my work-life balance. It was all about learning like mastering balance,
mm,
and then also mastering management and organization. So being able to be on one project for one client and, also be able to navigate sophisticatedly, right, into another project with another client. These are things that really help me. Honestly, it made me limitless. I'll just be honest. It made me like, well, as long as I have the time on my calendar, there's no one I can't talk to. There's nothing I can't work on. There's nothing I can't learn. So that was like the attitude that I learned and kind of doubled down on. And so I created, to be clear, several businesses. On this call, I had only mentioned three of my most active businesses. But I went into e-commerce. That was my very first business. I went into e-commerce and learned, what you do is you learn different things, and then whether you succeed or fail, the things that you learned are always going to be like those W's, those wins, right? So
mm,
in e-commerce, the business itself did not succeed. It ended up getting shut down. It was an Etsy shop, randomly got shut down when Etsy became an IPO and they went public. They did a sweep of all businesses, of a lot of small businesses, not all of them, but a lot of small businesses. And I was just one of those that got caught in the crosshairs. Learned a lot of lessons about one, relying on another platform for my business, right? Relying on another platform to get my revenue. I saw that as a mistake. Lesson learned. I'll never have one channel, one sales channel ever again. Like I'll always diversify my sales channels. That's just one thing I learned. Something else I learned was how to communicate and do business overseas. The I was working with a factory seamstress, right, overseas who was helping me make custom-made dresses, right? So the value proposition of that business was the dresses were custom made for every single bridesmaid, every single groom, well, the grooms had their suits, right? So everything was custom and tailor-made for an unbelievably amazing price. And no bride could have passed that up, right? So it was a really profitable business. I got a lot of revenue, hit six figures, and then got shut down randomly. So I learned a lot from that. As you can imagine, I learned how to do business with people overseas. I needed zero help in doing that. I was myself the whole time, making mistakes, but also learning from them. And then I moved into real estate. So moving into real estate, I had my partner, which is my husband, and we learned together and we made mistakes together. And we argued and we bounced back from those arguments. And we had arguments about the budgets and about what to spend money on. So that was a learning lesson, right? I had my first business partner technically, right? And so I learned how to do business with a partner. And in real estate, again, now I'm taking all of everything I learned. I learned how to manage projects. I learned how to work with different people from different backgrounds. I learned how to work with my husband and just have a business partner. I learned how to manage money, budgets, talk to attorneys. There was like in real estate, there was like it's such a big ecosystem. Like you learn so much. You learn so much. And I think, from there it was up.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yes, all the areas that you mentioned, because I think also as professionals and business owners, we have to understand, and you said it so flawlessly, failure, mistakes, poor decisions is equivalent to success because you learn what not to do moving forward. And
And you know what it's called? It's called failing forward.
yes,
Failing forward. So
yep.
I never let a failure set me back. My perspective on failure is very different from the average human, right? Failure to me is, you know, there is like my car failed because it didn't start. That's like failure, right?
Mhm.
Failure to launch, right? Like the rocket ship didn't make it to space because it was a fail to launch. Like failure to me is very like abrupt.
Mhm.
So Etsy shut down my shop. That was a failure, right?
Mhm.
On that sales channel, but technically I should have been more diversified, right? So
Mhm.
I just look at failure way different. Like when I do fail, okay, what could I have done different to
Mhm.
not have failed like that? Or how could I have softened the blow, right? Um, so I don't look at failure as like a one-off, thing. Like I failed and it's all over. I literally fell forward.
Mhm.
And I will crawl my way back to my feet and go at it again. I teach my sons the same thing. They play sports, they're athletes, right? So losing a game is a failure, but if you're winning the whole series, you know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
you've won all your other games, are you really failing? You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
perspective is everything. It's absolutely everything. I don't let other people's definitions of a word define my definition and how I perceive to move forward with that word. You know what I mean? Like it's all about perspective.
Yeah. And as you just said, it's all about perspective. And that's also connected to wisdom too. Um,
100%.
yeah, wisdom is such a foundation to life. It's life itself. And when you make it applicable in all the areas that you just spoke about, you your mind changes, that perspective shifts. Like this kind of like a renewing the mind as the Bible talks about, right?
Mhm.
Definitely, failure is something that you hear a lot, but definitely failure. It's kind of like in real estate when it comes to good debt versus bad debt, right?
Mhm.
Debt,
Perspective. Yes.
right? There,
Yes.
yeah, there's debt that you can't use to doing anything.
Yep,
There's also debt that you can leverage and
yep,
scale and transition
exactly.
with proper, wisdom and
Good example.
yeah,
Very good. Yep.
that's definitely something, especially operating in real estate. So I love that, and I hope that
Yes.
the audience definitely gets encouraged, encouraged and motivated because
Yeah,
sometimes a hard stop doesn't mean stop, but kind of like when you're on the road you only stop until there's a green light, right?
exactly.
Sometimes we get too focused on like, okay, the yellow light came. I've been sitting at this light for a while. Okay, maybe that means that's it. But there's also a waiting period because wisdom teaches us that. And even in the book of Ecclesiastes, there's a time to speak, a time to be quiet, a time for something under the sun.
Exactly.
So making this applicable in the area of businesses that you have had the blessing of being exposed to and operate in because e-commerce, real estate, and other businesses that you operate in as well, of course, are extremely profitable, but learning through those failure experiences really puts things in perspective even deeper. So it's like, okay, like it kind of even motivates you, kind of like even with what you were saying with your sons in terms of games, like nobody likes losing, but it's really how you look at it. There's a seasonal win versus like a single-handed loss.
And an individual, this is another thing I added, an individual win, right? Because just because your team is losing, what do your stats look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got the best stats in the whole league.
Mm-hmm.
Your team might have failed, and maybe you were doing good, but your team failed you, or whatever the case, right? What do your stats look like? So whether your team's winning or losing, or you lost a game, won a game, there's also individual wins, right? The lessons you learn, that's valuable. Those are wins. So yeah, I love using sports to parallel with business. I do sports is kind of new. My kids are young, so and I wasn't an athlete growing up, so it's new to me, but it's like mind-blowing like how like just the mindset that they have to adapt to and just it just puts life into perspective, honestly. I want to just kind of touch on Pray Hustle Profit for a second
For sure.
because this directly kind of flows into that business. So Pray Hustle Profit came from just all of my experience in business that I wrapped up really, really quickly
Mm-hmm.
in a short amount of time. And I was like, I don't think a lot of people know this stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
people take 10 like decades, right, to try something and fail. And I actually thought that, I have as a consultant by career, I have a lot to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I have a lot to offer my clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Pray Hustle Profit, I help entrepreneurs and people who want to be business owners with their business plans. But the difference I would say is that my perspective is so much different from just your regular run-of-the-mill business plan software that types up a quick business plan for you, right? What are some lessons I learned that I know will help your business when we write this business plan, right? And what are some things like that I can incorporate into your business so you don't have to waste any time on your timeline in order to be successful. So, I've learned, I feel like for my clients, and I tell them this, right? I've done all the failing for you guys, you know what I mean? I've done all the failing, I've done all the networking, I have done all the research, I have looked at all of the data. And this is how I like to help my clients build their business plans. I think with Pray Hustle Profit and building out a vision, right, for a business, I
Mm-hmm.
think that comes before real estate, it comes before e-commerce, it comes before any industry that you're trying to build out. What I'm realizing it's the mindset. It is the mindset that goes with the vision. And if you don't have the mindset, and you don't have the vision, then I'll tell people straight up, like, why are we working on a business plan?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we even doing this? You have no vision for this. Someone probably brought this up as an idea and you want to just give it a try. Or maybe you're not confident at all in your skills. You just need money. So there's different things that I've just noticed just from doing business plans with different entrepreneurs and business owners. I noticed that first it's mindset, then it's having a solid vision, and then it's the actual plan, right? And
Mhm.
then after the plan is the execution,
Yes.
which circles back to my consulting because as a consultant, I'm helping my clients execute.
Yep.
So everything I do is full circle. It seems like it's a lot when you say it, but in the grand scheme of things, it's an ecosystem.
Hmm.
It's an ecosystem, and both mentally and in the physical world, right? It's an ecosystem. So that's how I operate.
Yeah, I love that because you touch bases on mindset, vision, um, writing a vision, make it plain upon tables, right? Such a well-known, for those that do and don't
Yeah.
know. Um,
Habakkuk. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And also, before there's an execution, and you said it so well too. You definitely need to have the mindset and the vision because mindset a lot of times does have a lot to do with like failure and succeed. Coming back to what we were just talking
Always.
about,
Yep.
the perspective of failure,
Yep.
because failure is not even really failure. That failing forward is a true thing because true failure is failing forward. But
Yep.
the perspective of failure that most people are kind of stuck with to believe that that's the truth of failure is just like, okay, you fail. It's a hard stop and it's like you remain there and then that
Right.
chapter is closed. So definitely the mindset is extremely important because
And I want to add one more thing. It keeps coming to me. One more thing. There's the people who are like, I failed, it's over. And then there's the people that are like, fail forward, just learn and move on.
Mhm.
And then there's one more group of people. They fail fast.
Mm,
They fail fast.
yes.
I learned this actually in consulting. Um, and it's mostly in the tech industry, right? The
Hmm.
goal for the tech industry when you're building a product or software is to hurry up and build it, make all of the glitches and mistakes, and then go back and patch it. Like fail
Hmm.
fast so we can get a better product, so we can get our a better MVP, right? So someone with that mindset, well, for me, I think they're unstoppable.
For sure.
They're
Yeah.
unstoppable.
Absolutely. And I love how you touch bases on that. I've definitely heard of that concept before. And for those that don't understand, failing fast is essential because you can fail and be in a long-term mindset of failure that robs you of the joy, peace, the longevity of
Your
not even,
vision. Yep.
yeah, your vision, implementations, execution, the success, the grace, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, the abundance, the wealth, like all of the things that really accumulate to failing fast, essentially, because nobody is ever going to be successful and say they did not fail. They touch,
Right.
they
Exactly.
and even with what you were talking about earlier too, like so many business owners and for myself, operating in the space of sports, predominantly track and field, but specifically just diving into all of them, I definitely experienced that too because whatever I was good or good not good at, I did it. I did it, and there was so much that's learned from it. And you're absolutely right. Sports and business go hand in hand because sports is a form of business and operating in sports, whether you're watching the sport, whether you're operating the sport, maybe you're coaching in the sport, maybe you own something that pertains to sports. They all have different roles that business wise is kind of like playing chess versus checkers. It puts so many things in mind and you really pay attention to why perspective is important, pay attention to detail and be oriented in how you look, evaluate, analyze your awareness. All of these strategic matters have a lot to do with consulting because you're right. Consulting has a lot to do with execution. And,
Yeah,
you
I'm
know,
so happy you brought that up.
yeah.
I am publishing my ebook on the real estate side. So it's going to be virtual wholesaling, how I built an entire real estate portfolio from just being online, networking, and having a funnel system in real estate. And I was able to, get access to hundreds and hundreds of off-market properties. And in that ebook, um, I can't teach people, again, like I said, I have to start at mindset. I can't just jump into real estate, right?
Mhm.
So one of my chapters is called business acumen. And
Mhm.
you just reminded me of that. Um, Business acumen is so important because you have to, again, be aware, right? Have situational awareness. What
Mhm.
does the economy look like? What does real estate, the industry look like?
Yes.
Are you in a good place to even be doing business right now, right? Are you healthy to be doing business right now?
Mm.
Can your family afford for you to be doing business, or should you be getting a job or two or three jobs before you jump into this entrepreneurship, right? Like just having a level of, again, being grounded in reality, and and this is why planning is so important, because instead of just jumping into things to fail fast, have a vision first, have
Yeah.
a plan first, get
Mhm.
your skills up, right? Get your skills up, be able to read financial projections, right? Learn what financial projections are. Learn more about real estate, the terms, how things work, how the economy works, right? Because, real estate is driven by the economy.
Mhm.
And so there's just so much to learn. And I never want to be the person that, I don't want people to look at me and think, oh, she does all these things. She's so smart. That's why she does all these things. No, I mean, I worked very hard at a young age to learn more than I experienced. So I learned a lot, then I experienced a lot. Then I went back to relearn everything I failed, right? And
Mhm.
then I reworked my vision, reworked my plan, and I execute. So I do outline that stuff in my ebook, and I can definitely share that information with your audience if that's helpful. Like even if you're not interested in real estate, there's some really good nuggets in there on just getting started in business and having that business mindset, because the business mindset is fail forward and fail fast. It's not fail. It's just not.
I love that. Well, we appreciate you so much for joining us today.
Having me.
Um, for anyone that is looking to get in touch with you, how would they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the best way to get in touch with me is obviously I have an email for every business, but just let's do hello at prayhustleprofit.com.
Okay,
Hello at prayhustleprofit.com. You'll get direct line to me. If you reach out to me, I'd love to talk to people about what vision they have, the plans they have, how they plan to execute, and hopefully I can help you get started.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's
Thanks for having me again.
Yes, yes. And we did like a part one. Gonna be audio, but for those that would like to listen to it, because obviously, as you can hear, this woman is phenomenal. I just love the way she operates from a biblical mindset, but just really utilizes the resources around her to make applicable to family, to business, and community, which is literally why we're here at the Lady E Effect to do just this. So definitely check her out, support her business, definitely utilize all of what she has to offer. She's truly a blessing and helps you position to yourself to be a blessing. So definitely like, comment, and subscribe, share your insight, subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, audio platforms, and all social media platforms. And without taking any more of your time, thank you all so much for joining us today. Until next time, bye.
Bye.